Hi, this is Carrie Beach from the South Carolina Department of Education Office of Personalized Learning, and welcome to a quick tour of the 4.0 rubric element presenting instructional content and how it connects to the Measuring PCBL toolkit. The purpose of this video is to provide a short introduction of how the Measuring PCBL toolkit can help you measure growth in presenting instructional content. If you haven't watched the welcome video in the header of the crosswalk document that explains our overall purpose, we suggest watching that before you continue with this video. The Measuring PCBL Toolkit focuses on 8 outcomes that we believe are distinctive of a high-quality PCBL system. The toolkit was created to help make measuring personalized competency-based learning impacts as accessible as possible for classroom teachers, school coaches and leaders, and anyone wanting to document the effects of PCBL practices for learners. Let's dig in and learn more about the connections between this 4.0 element and the Measuring PCBL Toolkit outcomes. If you're wanting to measure your impact in presenting instructional content, you could focus on the student outcome of engagement. We know that in order for students to be able to learn from the content being shared, it must be presented in a way that is engaging and helps students make connections to the real world and things that they care about. Now let's look at how you could use engagement to measure impact in the SCTS 4.0 element of presenting instructional content. Based on the research of educational neuroscientist Dr. David Sosa, engagement can be defined as the amount of attention, interest, curiosity, and positive emotional connections that students have when they are learning, whether in the classroom or on their own. So what does an engaged student look like? Engaged students are those who are actively learning and feel excited about what they are learning. They are actively reflecting, collaborating, creating, and eager to continue their learning journey. Another part of engagement is ensuring that the classroom or school community values and celebrates new learning, allowing students to feel a meaningful connection to their teacher and the learning environment. The indicators for the 4.0 rubric element presenting instructional content and the PCBL outcome engagement can work together to support teachers in collecting valuable data on how engaged students are. For example, on the 4.0 rubric, teachers are expected to present content that includes visuals that establish purpose, explicit examples, modeling, and concise communication. The engagement data collection tool has survey questions that can provide insight on whether the instructional content, such as visuals, examples, and modeling, are engaging for students and reflect their interests. Using the survey questions to find out how engaged students are within different aspects of their learning can be useful for teachers seeking to grow their instructional practices in this area. Let's take a look at the crosswalk to see how we might use the data collection tools in the Measuring PCBL toolkit. Let's imagine I'm a middle school related arts teacher who desires to grow more in the 4.0 element of presenting instructional content, because I want students to have a clear and meaningful connection to my lessons and content. I see that there is a strong connection between engagement and presenting instructional content. So I'm going to click on engagement. I see that there are several prompts and questions that I can use to create a survey for my students. I notice that each prompt has a code for which grade level fits best. Since I'm a middle school teacher, I want to make sure the prompts I select are where my learners are. I might pick a prompt on the Likert scale, like my teacher makes lessons interesting, or my teacher considers my interest when creating lessons. I might also pick some open-ended questions, like which aspects of class have you found the most or least engaging? Or if you were teaching class, what is one thing you would do to make it more engaging for all students? After making the survey, I would give it to one or all of my classes, depending on what I was trying to measure. Once the survey results are in, I could analyze the data by myself with my coach or with another colleague to see what I notice and wonder about what my students are saying regarding their level of engagement. If I need to follow up and do some small group interviews, I could. Then I could use the data to make some changes to my instructional practice based on what my students said. If my SLO was focused on the same 4.0 element, I could even use these prompts as pre and post data related to one of the competencies that I might be working to integrate in my class. If you're wondering if you can do this with more than one outcome at a time, the answer is yes, you can. You can use each of the tabs in this menu to pull from as it relates to a 4.0 element you're trying to measure. Now, what if I'm a school leader or an instructional coach? How could I use the same crosswalk? Well, if your school has identified a few of the South Carolina Teacher Standard 4.0 rubric elements that are a focus for the year, then you could ask everyone to focus on the same one or give them a choice between a few. Then, as a coach or a school leader, you could create a school-wide survey using prompts and questions from the data collection tool that apply to the element that you're focused on. Have each teacher give the survey to one class during a given class period, and then reflect on that whole school data or individual class data when you're meeting as a team. Teachers could set their own growth goals around the data from their students. That is just one way that you can leverage the connection between the 4.0 element presenting instructional content and the data collection tools in the Measuring PCBL Toolkit. Now it's your turn to think about which Measuring PCBL Toolkit outcome you want to focus on and explore the survey prompts and questions. We love to partner with educators, so please reach out to your regional coach by going to personalizesc.ed.sc.gov/contact us.